Hello, welcome to another episode of Showboys. My name is Mike, and I am joined. Actually, I can't even. I feel like I can't even say as always because we've had so many guests on lately that it hasn't really been just me and you for a while, Nick.
Sure hasn't. It's been a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing okay. I have my call center headset on.
Yes.
I'll be taking calls throughout the entire broadcast.
Hey, it sounds good.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
the Turtle Beach is a oldie, but it holds
Reliable.
true. Yeah, it doesn't let me down. Except
Yeah.
for this ear doesn't work.
I'll just lean more to one side and hopefully it'll go through your working earpiece. But yeah, so we apologize for the delay. We had a little bit of technical difficulties, but we're here now, and that's all that matters. So yeah, like I said, kind of there a few minutes ago, it's been a while since it's just been Nick and I on the show, and as much as I've absolutely loved having all of our friends on the show with us, all of our fantastic guests that we've had lately. But I think tonight's going to be pretty fun. Just back to the basics. Oh, I see a Hobbs nose. But yeah, I'm looking forward to having a throwback with just you and I, Nick.
Yeah, it's been a little bit.
So what you want to let everyone know what we're talking about tonight?
Yeah, so we're going to be discussing a topic which we covered briefly on 2 newscasts ago, and it's this whole idea of the kind of modern landscape of studio movie releases, right? Are we releasing them to theaters in the traditional sense? Are we putting them straight to streaming? Are we doing both? Are we doing neither? Are we just pushing everything back? There's a little bit of everything, and I think it's a bit of a murky landscape. There's always new information coming out, and when I was looking up kind of like who's doing what, it's kind of all over the place. You just kind of have to go with the last known thing that was said.
Right.
And some of it's even a little confusing.
Very much.
Some studios don't even really have a set, and one in particular is very confusing. They don't even have. It's kind of like movie by movie, and I did not realize this until I looked it up. So it'll be interesting. But we'd like to talk about this a little more and kind of dig in, kind of get Mike's opinions on how he feels about it, because we all know he's an avid movie theater goer. He's a traditionalist.
Yes, very much so. Yeah, I'm excited to get into this because it's a very interesting topic, and it even kind of dates further back than just a few newscasts ago.
Yes.
If you remember when we had our friend Mick Manhattan on from the Scene Snobs, we didn't like touch this aspect of this topic, but we threw the question out to him, which do you prefer, viewing your movie in a theater or from the comfort of your own couch, streaming it from home? And that was a fun conversation to get into. And excuse me. Now getting into the other side of it, as far as how these movie studios and production companies are handling these releases on their end. Yeah, I'm excited to dig into it. And as you know, from being my friend, and as anyone who's watched or listened to the show know, that I am quite opinionated about a lot of things in this realm of topic or like discussion. So yeah, I'm excited to dig into it. So yeah, let's quit beating around the bush and let's dig into it.
Diving right in. Where do you want to start?
So we have this blurb from our newscast from March 15th. Paramount Pictures announced that they will be releasing Mission Impossible 7. Let's pause for a second. I can't believe there's 7 of those already.
I can't believe there's not 10 yet.
Mission Impossible 7, A Quiet Place Part 2, and Top Gun Maverick to their Paramount Plus streaming service just 45 days after their theatrical release. And their CEO is quoted saying, "Audiences are changing in their habits, and we want to make sure that these films are available when they're fresh after a full theatrical run." And I think we briefly touched on this because we don't really dive deep into topics in the newscasts, but I think we both kind of agreed that of all of the different movie release styles that we've seen during this COVID time, this one is probably the one, or at least personally, I'm the biggest fan of this one. But we'll get into why later. But Paramount isn't the only place that is, changing up the way that they're releasing their movies. We saw Warner Brothers earlier at the tail end of 2020 announce that every movie they release in theaters in 2021 will also be available same day available to stream on HBO Max at no additional cost, which that kind of created a large ripple effect in the movie industry, so to speak, in terms of movie theaters and panic that they're going to lose a bunch of money. And but honestly, they weren't making any money anyways because they were closed. So, and we've seen Disney constantly mull over pushing back movies, debating whether or not to continue to push movies back or just release them on Disney Plus. When they do release them on Disney Plus, are they going to be free, or are they going to be some kind of premiere access? Some examples being, the infamous Black Widow release, which I don't even know how many times that's been pushed back, but it's an absurd amount of time. But then you have movies like Pixar's Soul that released on Disney Plus at no additional charge. And then the third example from Disney Plus is Raya and the Last Dragon, which had a theatrical release, but only in certain theaters. They were not shown in Cinemark theaters. But the movie was also available same day, available to stream on Disney Plus. However, it was a $30 additional charge. And
is
we
it
saw
$30 per movie on there, or is it like a premiere access level? That's what I've never done it, so I don't know.
I haven't rented one either because I'm not going to pay $30 to watch a movie in my own house. Like,
do it.
But I think it's like $30 to watch Raya and the Last Dragon.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure Mulan came out on the streaming service, and it was also
that was the first,
somewhere around there.
First,
yeah. And I don't think that had a theatrical release. I think it just went straight to the streaming service. I could be wrong though. And I think it also was, somewhere in the like $20 to $30 range. But so like those are some of the examples. And I think personally the Paramount one for me is kind of like a happy medium. It pleases all parties. But yeah, why don't you let me know some of your thoughts on some of the release strategies that I just said, or if I maybe left any out. Have you heard of any other studios doing anything different, or?
Yeah, so definitely there's everyone that's just kind of not really doing anything different, right? They're still just trying to push them through the theaters. They probably don't have a streaming service direct platform. That's usually the big kind of like indicator for these studios if they're going to do something out of the norm, right? If they have like easy access to their own monetized streaming platform. So like Paramount, right? And NBC has Peacock now, Universal, Warner Bros. And HBO Max. So I think that's usually a big factor, right? Whether a studio or a certain, conglomerate of IP ownership gets pushed one way or another. But yeah, Warner Bros. That was the big shakeup because they said just theater and straight to video on demand streaming, and that's for 30 days after release. Then it goes away from streaming.
Okay, so it's only available 30 days on HBO Max until it like comes out on video or whatever. I don't know what the exact.
Right. So from what I read, they do the full theatrical release, and then but same day it comes out on streaming, but streaming is only for 30 days after, which is kind of like the opposite of Paramount, right? Where we have Paramount here doing theater and then 45 days wait, and then it's just out on streaming. Like you, I think I'm the biggest fan of Paramount's blend of it, just because I'm usually slow to get to the theater anyways, unless it's like something I absolutely have to see. So like 45 days is like that sweet spot. If I don't go see it in 45 days, I'm probably never going to go see it. But I do think overall, I don't think it's that terrible because the people who are going to go to the movie theater are still going to go to the movie theater and see it if they had an option, right? I don't know how many people are going to opt out of going to theater to see a movie they really want to see versus just watching it at home. Because, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I think there's either like your movie theater goers. I don't know how many people are just like, I want to see a new movie. I'm going to go to the theater. You know, there probably is a large group of people that do that.
Well, I think like if there was no COVID, I think your point would stand, right? But how many people are, avid theater goers, but also like not afraid or feel safe at this current time to go sit in a room full of other people? Though in my few trips to the movie theater during COVID life, the theaters aren't packed. They have, guidelines with seating, and like once you select your seat, it blocks out like the 2 seats next to you or something like that. I forget exactly how it works, but
I mean, they already got super spacious with the luxury loungers and everything. Everyone was at an arm's length as it was, so you put a couple seats in between people.
Yeah, I mean, I've gone. I think we went back to the theaters for the first time around Thanksgiving. So, and we've gone 3 times since, like 3 times total now, which isn't a lot compared to like, I mean, how I used to go basically every weekend. I think also having 2 small children plays a large part in the lack of theater going, just because it's hard to lock down a babysitter, and then by the time you pay a babysitter, pay for dinner, and then go to the movies on like a normal Friday or Saturday, like all of a sudden I'm like, okay, well, all my money's gone now.
If Rogue One was coming out in theaters tomorrow, I would go to the theater. Hands down. If Rogue One came out in last April, I would have gone.
You just like wrap yourself in saran wrap. You're like, I'm watching this movie.
but that's my movie theater style. Like I go for my absolute have tos, right? The movies I have to see in the theater, or it's practically none at all. So very rarely we're kind of just, we're the opposite of you guys. We're not kind of sitting around and be like, oh, let's go see a movie at the movie theater.
Yeah. No, we'll go like,
right.
I have a few like stipulations. Like I'll go see anything in theater just because I like the experience. I like seeing the movie as they're like intended to be viewed, right? They're filmed and scored.
You're always looking for the next Scott Pilgrim experience. Right. That's all it is.
Right. But you know what I'm saying? Like they're filmed to be viewed on the silver screen, right? They're scored to be listened to in like Dolby 1.0 surround sound.
The unicorn sounds.
Exactly. So I like to try to experience as many movies as possible that way. However, I'm not going to jump the gun to go see like a rom-com in theaters because I can watch a rom-com at home. I don't need the huge screen and the surround sound to like enjoy a rom-com
I can
or
watch a rom-com while I'm on my phone. That's usually how I
right.
watch rom-coms.
Exactly. But like if it's an action movie or if it's something that has like if it's like Interstellar where it's going to be visually like breathtaking and big movies like that where the large screen and the surround sound like really benefit, the movie and like I have to see it in theaters and like I feel like watching a movie like that, like watching Zack Snyder's Justice League for example on my couch, I
That's
feel
sad.
like it was not as enjoyable for me personally, even though I enjoyed it a ton. I know that if I actually got to see that in the theater, like I would have probably died of happiness. So maybe it's a good thing I had to watch it on my couch because I'm still here.
Yeah, I feel like that one would be worth doing like a 3.5 hour edit and then releasing it to theaters. I feel like that would go over well in like a year or two. But
Yeah.
yeah, definitely those movies you lose out on a lot. So, especially action movies, superhero movies, space movies. They're just definitely not the same, right? And even think about movies like A Quiet Place or the one George Clooney space movie. It was with like the other 5 space movies that came out a couple years ago, but so much is real. It's the sound, really. The visual is one thing. Like you can dial in when you're sitting at home and like really appreciate the visuals on a good TV. But I just feel like the sound is just really hard to mimic at home unless you have a really good surround sound system. But even then, like, you could get it. But yeah, I don't know.
Right. Yeah, but you're not gonna get it really. You'll get close. I mean, unless you're gonna like blast your neighbors out of the neighborhood or something. Like but yeah, I feel like HBO, I kind of like that HBO is removing the movies after 30 days. That's kind of cool. I didn't know that. I am definitely not ever going to pay $30 to rent a movie to watch on my TV. You will never convince me. I will never do that ever because it's not like I'm owning a physical copy and I'm watching it on my TV. Like I can just wait like 4 months and rent it for $5. Like
because I guess whatever you bought goes away as soon as it's free. You don't get anything else out of it. In Disney Plus, Disney probably has, it's not Disney Plus, like all of Disney, they have probably it's probably good because they micromanage everything, right? They do everything to such a specific degree because they know their target audiences, they know what they're making, is going to make money. So I feel like they're the only ones that can get away with a release schedule like this. But during the investor day back in December, they told everyone what they're going to do for the whole year of 2021, all their big movies, and it's a mixed bag. I mean, some of them are coming out in theaters and Disney Plus with the $30 thing. Some of them are just going straight to Disney Plus, no theater. Some of them are just going to theater, no Disney Plus, and they're really kind of all over the place. And they're just kind of really. That's because they have such a wide range of IPs. They have Marvel, they have Star Wars, they have their classic Disney stuff. So they can get away with it, but they are the most annoying. If it wasn't for the fact that they're Disney, it would be absolutely terrible, and I would not like it. But yeah, I would never pay the $30 for a movie. I would even be hard pressed to pay $30 additional to get access to every movie. Like if that was a monthly thing, that would still suck a lot.
But at least there's more. Like if you add $30 onto your Disney Plus, so you're paying what, $45 if you have like the Disney Plus bundle with everything, $45 a month, but you get like every new movie that releases, you have access immediately, no additional charge. It might be worth it, maybe. Yeah, but I mean, that's basically like paying half of a cable bill just for Disney content. So even that's hard to justify.
And to me, that's a runaway train too, because once these streaming services start Because obviously they charge us more for different reasons, except for one reason, and that's what Disney's toying with here. Streaming services do not charge us more for additional content that I know of. So they charge us more for more user profiles, more multi-streams at a time, no ads, things like that. That's what they charge us more for.
Well, like just about every year, though, Netflix goes up $1 or $2.
And that's okay. I mean, they are pumping a lot of cash into debt into making new content.
But it's not like you're saying. It's not like like Hulu. It's like $6, or you could pay whatever $10 or $12. I don't know what it is to get ad free. So that's what you're saying. Like another tier of thing to give you something extra.
Yeah, and what I'm saying though is like, and that's what Disney's toying with here, which I think is a dangerous road, and that's because they are charging. There's an additional charge to unlock a different tier of content. Obviously, very special circumstances because of COVID, and they want to push these movies out, but they can't go to theaters. Not everyone wants to go to theaters, but I don't know. It's just weird that they're testing these waters of saying, hey, you pay us more money, we will give you different content than what the other people get for paying the less money. So if they start charging, there's like a Premier Access, you just add for a monthly fee. I feel like that's where you're going to see the Disney contents divide, right? You're going to have your like Mandalorian shift up into there. You're going to have your Marvel stuff up there.
Disney's going pay to win.
Yeah. Now, it's weird. I mean, you'd have to walk that line very carefully as far as I would say a good way to do it. And it's a slippery slope, but all theatrical releases you get access to, right? Instantly. Right. I could see that making sense. It's just don't go too far with that.
It'd be like the Disney Movie Pass or something.
Yeah. If you don't want to go to theaters or you just never plan to, just sign up and be that person. Yeah, that's fine.
Before we go too much farther, our friend Tom Farley from Be Hero Fights, he is having issues figuring out how to comment on the live stream. So he Facebook messaged me, and he says, "I know way too many people that would opt out of the theater to watch it movies at home. It drives me nuts. You and me both, my friend." You and me both. I look at those people and I say, who are you?
So are these people, so basically is it they would go to the movie theater, but now that they have an option, they're not going to? Otherwise, if they didn't have the option, they would go to the theater.
That's what it sounds like.
Okay. Because I guess that's a group of people I don't really know much about. But I always wondered like how big of a group of people that is.
They're animals. Those people are animals.
Right. It's almost like they have this drive to go to, to see a movie. That's the drive. They have to go see a movie. So if going to see a new movie means going to the theater, they're going to do it. But if it means staying at home on your couch and paying more money, they're going to do it.
They're like,
interesting.
It's like, that steak looks really good, but I'll rather eat this hot dog.
Because I'm hungry?
Yeah. I don't know where I was going with that. That was a terrible analogy. I apologize. So Disney pretty clearly is my least favorite of these new movie release strategies that we're seeing. However, I'm glad that they haven't slid down the slippery slope yet of becoming like pay to win, doing that sort of thing where there's exactly like what we just said in summary, adding an extra tier of Disney Plus where you get more access to movies and stuff. And then like Nick said, you run the risk of them being like, well, Mandalorian's pretty special. We'll just bump that up. You have to pay $20 extra a month to watch Mandalorian. WandaVision, that's Marvel, which is basically everything is a movie. So I would hate to see that. That'd be terrible.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, you're back on Amazon Prime where you're paying for the rentals, right? Because you could pay like $1 per episode to get the episodes like instantly. I get that because it's not theirs. They're just kind of funneling another studio stuff through. It's just like Amazon. It's just what they do. So that model always worked. But if in-house Disney starts pushing their own stuff like that, that gets goofy. Like, I'm not going to do that. That's a pay to lose. Whoever's paying that money is losing.
Yeah. Don't become EA. I'm just kidding.
Loot boxes. You get a monthly loot box of content in your Disney Plus account. You open a loot box and you get a free golden digital cover of a movie.
Yeah.
So now your thumbnail.
It's a random movie.
Yeah, your thumbnail on Disney Plus is gold now. Yeah. It's just like cosmetics for Disney, for your streaming app.
So you have to buy like 5 loot movie boxes to finally get the one that you want to watch.
Dude,
I was just trying to get Raya and the Last Dragon, and I got like Black Widow and Soul and Pinocchio. I didn't even know Pinocchio was a thing.
There's some mid-tier exec listening right now. They're just like going bananas. They're like,
this guy's a genius.
He came up with a
contract right now. Which Disney, if you're listening, I will totally take that contract. Anyways, then we have HBO, which, well, first, before we move off Disney, Black Widow is now being released on Disney Plus. They're not going to push it back any further, correct? Does that sound right?
Yes, correct. They're just gonna. I think they're gonna settle on that. I got mildly confused because I was going off of the Investor Day notes from December, and that's back when this was going to release May 7th. But since then, they have delayed it.
Yeah, so I'm wondering.
I think they've given up on the theatrical release of that just because.
Right.
Well, plus it lost its oomph because WandaVision, Falcon Winter Soldier, like it was supposed to be the first part of Phase 4, but poor Black Widow.
Yeah, ScarJo, rip, on many levels. But yeah, so no theatrical release at all, just Disney Plus.
I'll confirm it.
Okay. So if that's the case, that's where HBO or Warner Brothers and HBO kind of separated themselves, even though they were the first one to kind of make the announcement, moving forward. They decided to, along with releasing their movies in theaters, to release them on HBO Max same day. But as Nick said earlier, it's only available on HBO Max for 30 days. So
Black Widow's theaters and streaming service.
Is it both?
Yeah, they retained the theaters. But I think
okay.
Now here's the thing. They say Disney Plus on the same day. I feel like sometimes they say Disney Plus Premier Access and then sometimes they don't. So is this like a Soul situation where it's just going to be to the normal people?
I doubt it, because if they made it free but also had it in theaters, why would anyone go to theaters?
True.
So I would be pretty confident to say that Black Widow probably will be a premium Disney Plus premium movie there. But who knows? Because Warner Brothers, like we were just talking about, it is no additional cost on top of your HBO Max subscription to watch these movies same day instead of going to the theaters. So, have you viewed any new Warner Brother movie on HBO Max?
Yeah.
Did you watch like Wonder Woman 1984 or something?
Wonder Woman 1984 was it, because I'm pretty sure I somehow knew it was the last week to catch it on there. Like I had an article pop up and it was like, "Hey, last week to watch Wonder Woman." I'm like, "All right,
nice,
let's do it." So that's nice. I like that option, but I, like we said earlier, I preferred Paramount's approach to it better. But
yeah,
because I'm gonna, just like those people that you guys know that's gonna opt out of the theater to watch it at home. They're gonna watch it in those 30 days, and then they're not gonna turn around and go to the movie theater.
Yeah. Well, see, here's the thing. We went, Becca and I, when I say we, my wife and I, finally we were able to get a date night the grandparents were kind enough to watch our girls, and we were able to sneak out, and we went, of course, to our most reliable and, at least in my opinion, fun date nights, which is just going to the theater, catching a movie. We saw The Little Things, which is like a detective type movie with Denzel Washington and Jared Leto.
Oh,
and Rami Malek, my boy, from Mr. Robot. So of course, I'm going to be seeing that.
Sleeper cast on a sleeper movie I never heard of.
It's really good. I enjoyed it, but it is a Warner Brothers movie, which we 100% could have watched for free at home. But we chose to go to the theaters because I am that person. Even though I know my $20 makes no difference to Cinemark in the grand scheme of things, I make it my personal objective during this COVID time to save the theater. But yeah, so Cinemark, you're welcome. I hope my $20 helped pay the electric bill or something for you guys.
Like we were talking about with Mick, though, I would be more for saving the old school theater approach, where it's super exclusive, even dress up. I think that would be way cool for that to come back.
Yeah. Well, just to talk about the theaters in our area. So we have two in our general vicinity within 10 miles of where we live. One being Tinseltown, USA, which is a Cinemark. Both of our theaters in our area are Cinemark theaters. And that's just your basic run-of-the-mill Cinemark theater. It's got the luxury loungers that the auto reclining, super spacious. You can lift the armrests up. They just added liquor to the concession stand, which not just, that's been a couple years, but that was one of the new additions to the theater that they added when they added the luxury loungers and stuff. And then about not maybe half a mile, probably a quarter of a mile down the road is the other theater.
Right across the Hall of Fame bridge. You can walk
it's
there.
Literally you could, if there wasn't a giant Walmart in the way, from Tinseltown's parking lot, you could see the other theater from Tinseltown. Yes, not the best Walmart, but the other Cinemark theater used to be a discount theater called Movies 10, and basically this movie theater was the Paramount Plus approach to their movie release to streaming.
Yeah.
After a movie would leave Tinseltown, after it would leave the official theatrical run, it would get picked up by Movies 10, and the tickets on prime weekend nights were $1.50 each instead of $10 each. So it's just your run-of-the-mill discount theater. It wasn't that great, the construction, it looked like a discount theater. I mean, the screens were nice, but it didn't have fancy chairs. It wasn't decked out, but it was a solid place to watch a movie. So that was a big pastime for my wife and I, especially when we were dating. One, I remember specifically, we had one date where we spent pretty much an entire day at the discount theater. We saw 3 movies back to back to back.
It's insane.
And still combined paid less than getting 2 tickets at Tinseltown. So that theater has since changed from a discount theater to being remodeled as a bistro theater. So I don't know if you've ever heard of a bistro theater, if you guys have bistro theaters in your neck of the woods, but basically it's a restaurant in each theater pretty much. I haven't been to it yet, but you have, right?
I've been to a much bigger, brand new, nicer one up 77, halfway to Cleveland. And it was honestly the worst experience I could ever kind of embody. I've decided that, and I think this holds true for me, even at home, I do not approve of eating a meal and watching a movie at the same time.
Same. I can't even watch a show and like eat a
Yeah,
meal.
it's just like it just crosses some wires in my brain and it just does not compute. Like popcorn, snacks, all that. But like I like to look at my food when I'm eating it and like focus on it. And I'm either focusing on a movie or nothing. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
And the person next to me got like the shrimp
Nachos
Alfredo.
or-
No, they got the
Oh.
shrimp Alfredo. So like
gross.
for the
Probably
entire,
smelled so bad.
they didn't come and take. I left a horrendous review. Like I roasted them hard, but
Nice.
they didn't. Like I was thinking, like okay, after so many minutes, they're gonna come take like all the plates and stuff. No, it just sat
No.
there. So the
Oh.
shrimp Alfredo bowl, like half ate and picked at, just sat there.
Mm.
It was rough. We went and saw the Joker, so good movie.
I mean, probably fitting, if you're just like
oh my god,
dumped in some trash cans in an alley in Gotham. I mean, you're probably going to smell some shrimp Alfredo, right? It's
Yeah.
probably just like maybe you weren't at a bistro theater. You're at one of those 4D theaters or like,
yeah, maybe.
I forget.
But,
I
like-
don't know if that's exactly what they're called. But
It's probably
anyways,
the wrong movie to be watching too, because it's giving me some ideas like on how to like solve my problem.
he wasn't ready.
Oh my god, it was terrible.
Well, you're
but back
getting
to-
me,
Back to your
you're
point.
making me really want to try out the bistro.
But back to your point. So, they took this little dollar theater, right? And they turned into a bistro. And I thought that was an interesting choice because one, that place isn't particularly big.
Right. They definitely movies 10 stood for 10 screens. Adding the bistro in the kitchen, they lost screens, obviously,
Darn.
because they didn't add on to the building. So that means they took away from the inside.
Yeah.
But anyways, continue what you were saying.
Well, I would be interested to see kind of like the format of that one because I feel like the one I went to was brand new and like one of those new like shopping complex areas where it's so like it went over the top. They tried to do too much, but ended up not doing enough for what they tried to do. So
Ironic.
I wonder if a smaller version of that would be better because in Akron, there is a theater in one of the neighborhoods where it's an old school theater, like old school, like stage theater. Right.
Oh,
And they had basically you walk in and there's a bar with like all the bottles on the wall and it's just wide open to like the theater tray. And basically there's like sitting areas with tables and you can have dinner. So like, kind of like that style. Obviously it wouldn't be that, but I really like that format because it's
Right.
kind of a little bit more formal. It's a little bit more kind of tailored to that experience, right? They're not just slapping swivel tables and plates of Alfredo in front of you.
right.
So I wonder if the smaller version of this and maybe you just kind of get your food, you go sit down. It's just a little bit more manageable.
Right.
I think I might still try out this bistro one just to see if I have a better experience.
Yeah, I definitely want to try it out because I'm interested exactly like you're saying how it actually logistically works. Like, do they have servers we kind of have gone off into like a theater tangent now, but I'm all for this.
Well, you said save the theater, so we're
right. But I mean,
try.
it fits because we're talking about movies, so whatever. Deal with it, guys.
Why release movies in theaters and not straight to streaming? This is why. So you can
Yeah,
get angry and happy.
exactly.
And sad and-
Contemplate having your own version of the Joker happen in your theater.
Yeah. Have emotion. Theater is for emotion. Sitting at home on your couch is for lethargy and going to sleep early.
Yes. But yeah, I'm just do they have waiters that come in and take your order? Like, how does that work? Do they stop coming in to take orders like when the movie is supposed to start at the showtime, or like do they linger for like 20 minutes and like you're trying to watch a movie but you have like a stupid waiter standing like 2 rows in front of you being like, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Did you say shrimp Alfredo?
Would you like the cheese sticks?
Right. Are you just hearing a bunch of like clanking like from silverware and plates, or like people ordering nachos and just like, I mean, I guess that's already a normal thing. You can get nachos from the concession stand. So that's a bad example.
The guy behind you is like, hey, you going to eat that?
Exactly. But yeah, so I'm interested to see all that, but also like it's a new thing, and sadly, so before I go into this, I guess I'll address the first point that I wanted to address, which was I don't particularly like to eat while watching a show or a movie because, like you, I like to pay attention to both what I'm eating because I'm a slob, and most of the time food ends up on my shirt, and that's when I'm actually paying attention. But secondly, I like to pay attention to what I'm watching because I, unlike most people, aka my wife, who just like listens to shows and movies and really is watching her phone. Sorry, Beck, if you're listening to this.
She's not. She's looking at her phone.
I apologize, but also at the same time, what are you doing with your life, man? Come on, just watch the movie with me.
Focus.
Anyways, so yeah, I like to take in all the details, see appreciate all the small stuff, and I can't do both at the same time without missing out on one or the other. Second, I'm pretty sure I'm already like partially deaf from like playing lots of loud live music in my younger years. So sometimes if I'm eating something that's crunchy and I'm trying to watch TV, like I can't hear over the crunch, and I'm like, wait, what did he just say?
That's a great point.
Yeah, so little things like that. So I don't really like eating much during a movie, but I would say if I'm in the theater, like it's hard to not hear anything because it's blaring at like a zillion decibels. So I don't think a crunch will, mute out someone's dialogue for a second.
My favorite is when I'm like eating chips, watching a movie. So there's the movie I'm listening to. There's the chips that are crunching in my skull, and then someone proceeds to ask me a question about the movie, and it's just like I literally cannot hear you.
Yes. But yeah, so then a little bit of history, because that's why you all tuned in, is the history of Nick and Mike's movie theaters. The sad thing about this bistro theater is this remodel happened literally like right as COVID started. Like last the remodel basically finished as soon as the lockdown started. So
it was open for like I feel like a month, maybe less.
Yeah,
like it was officially open. Like not even enough time to get like traction going again. It was just like COVID.
Yep, blow that up. But both theaters in our area have been open. I think Tinseltown has been open for a longer period of time. They opened earlier than the bistro. And the bistro is only open, which I just found this out a couple weeks ago. They're only open on the weekends. They don't have any showings during the week, which, hopefully that'll turn around once we, enter post-COVID life. But yeah, all that to say, we were talking about Warner Brothers and their release strategy, and we somehow ended up on that. But all that to say, even though I appreciate kind of in a way that Warner Brothers isn't requiring additional payment to watch these movies on HBO Max, like that's a plus for the fan, right? But it also kind of sucks because for most people who aren't super fans of going to the theater, they're going to see that and be like, oh, well, why would I pay money to go see this if I'm already paying for HBO Max? Like, I'll just watch it there.
Yeah. To me, HBO is such an established brand, right? They have decades of making top tier quality content and releasing it. Previously, it was technically free for anyone that had if you paid for it with a cable subscription, right? Mm-hmm. And then they had HBO Go. And basically, all you needed was a cable login, and you had it, right? So they've never been too big on the whole. Oh, we have to cover production costs. We have to cover this new streaming world we've entered, where I feel like that's where Disney is at. That's where Netflix is at, because Netflix was a streaming service. Well, but before that, something much different before, but it was a streaming service and has moved into this crazy world of being a studio.
Right.
Whereas Disney is a studio and much more, and moving into this world of having a streaming platform that's trying to be the biggest one ever.
Right.
So HBO to me is just a little bit more rounded in that world. They've always made content technically for free, right? Or for a subscription service through cable, and then now
Right.
through a streaming platform. So to me, they're kind of better built to just be like, hey, we're HBO, here's all our crap.
Yeah.
Just
Well, the
give us
only
the-
thing is though, like they weren't like even though HBO largely is like a movie channel, right? You know, a lot of the stuff, especially back in the day, were more movie oriented, but
Yeah.
obviously now they have a lot more shows.
Right.
But I mean, back then they wouldn't be airing movies on HBO until like after the theatrical release, right?
Right.
After the theatrical run.
They were more of the Paramount model where they took other
Yeah.
people's movies and ran them
Yeah.
pretty quickly after theatrical release.
Yeah. But the worry and the concern from theater fans such as myself and the theaters themselves, which caused a tissy where they were basically like, okay, fine, well then we're just not going to show any Warner Brothers stuff in some theaters, which I don't think helps anyone, especially if you're a struggling movie theater during a pandemic. I don't know why you would. I mean, I get why you would do that out of anger and spite, but at the same time, you're just screwing yourself even more.
They're not in the position to be negotiating.
Right, exactly. But there's that worry that like they're going to lose a ton of a ton of potential profits from the theaters, right? Because most normal people will see like, I can watch this at no extra cost as opposed to paying for HBO Max and then going to the theater on a Friday night. So why would I do that? That's the only thing that I don't like about this, is the potential harm it could cause theaters. However, recently, I think maybe we might have covered it in the last newscast, or maybe 2 newscasts ago. Regardless, if we didn't talk about it on the newscast, it was on our newscast article log, which quick plug is available to anyone who is in our Discord. As soon as the new newscast comes out, we throw our log up of all the articles we compiled for the episode and weren't able to get through for your reading pleasure. But yeah, I had read an article saying that after 2021, Warner Brothers isn't going to be doing the streaming stuff. They're going back to, regular theatrical releases. So I can get behind that.
Right. Yeah. And that's where I think a lot of people they just set plans for 2021. They're like, hey, 2020's over. It was rough. Here's what we're doing for 2021 to try and like bridge the gap here. So the assumption is that probably a lot of them will just fall back to their normal ways, right? When theaters are fully open and everyone's practically back to normal as much as they can be. Will everybody? I think there still might be a good chunk of the population that's damaged as far as like their will to go to the movie theater, which will be sad.
Right. But at the same time, I don't understand, right? Because at least in our area, like my sample size is our area, because that's where I am. But you drive down into, Belden, for example. Almost every restaurant parking lot is packed.
Sure.
For restaurants that allow people to eat in right now. There still are some that, the dining rooms are closed and it's either takeout only or drive-through only, whatever. But for those restaurants that have their dining rooms open, their parking lots are packed. So people aren't afraid to go out to a restaurant and eat, right? So what's the difference between doing that and sitting in a movie theater?
I guess my argument there would be that eating's a necessity and it only takes with under an hour, whereas a movie is something you do after dinner. So there's an hour for dinner, then there's 2 hours for movie, and it just really is extending your evening out.
But yes, eating is a necessity, but not eating at a restaurant. Like
true.
you eat at home or
But if
have
you're eating at a
delivery or
restaurant,
something.
you're probably not equipped to eat at home anyways, or you don't want to that evening.
Right. So
It's just
I
the
don't.
idea that the theater is, you just have one more excuse now not to go to the theater. Everyone goes out to eat. Not
Yeah.
everyone goes to the theater, and
Yeah.
that's the thing.
And then like on top of that, if you want to get down to like the minutia and the details and stuff, like when you're at a restaurant, you don't have a mask on because you can't eat food with a mask on. But you're required to keep your mask on in the theater unless you're eating or drinking. But like, so even there, I would argue that, well, if you're that worried, most people are going to have their mask on for the majority of the movie anyways. But I see what you're saying. Like I see both sides. I'm just making an argument for the thing that I favor the most. That's all.
to me, it's just like the smallest thing can trip someone up from going to the movie theater in a night, right? Anything could happen, right? And that's just one more reason that's just been added to the list of reasons. Why didn't you go to the movie theater this Friday night? I don't know. The dog got out. I had to chase down the dog for 15 minutes. That ruined my whole night.
Yeah. Oh shoot. Man. The other thing, so like you're talking about going forward, like maybe these strategies, these movie release strategies are only for 2020 or only until the like lockdown lifestyle, I'm using air quotes, like is over and things can go, air quotes, back to normal, right? Do you think a place like Disney, who's experimenting with additional charges as a way to catch the person who wouldn't typically go to the theater, like that seems like a more permanent idea?
Disney, I think, is the most permanent of all those strategies out there, because why take it away? It doesn't harm their theatrical release as much because they're still making $30 per account, right? That rents it. So they're doing an even trade, in my mind.
Right. And I think that
$30 is hefty.
I know it would be honestly be cheaper to go to the theater.
No,
unless you're getting like concessions.
No movie rental is $30.
No. No.
Granted, it's for like 3 months or whenever it releases normally, but
yeah,
that's a lot of money
per
movie.
And exactly. And like for my whole family to go to the theater, it would be just about that.
Yeah.
Right.
But theirs will stay. There's no reason for that to leave. They might simplify it a lot.
Yeah. Well, and like HBO or Warner Brothers announced they're going to go back to full theatrical releases, and that was another point that came to my head while we were talking. A lot of actor and actresses, like their financial gains from these movies, that they have like box office milestones written into their contracts. So like if it does so well at the box office, they get like a bump in pay, right? So I know when Trolls 2, when they pulled the theatrical release of Trolls 2 and just went straight to basically you can rent it for $20 on video on demand or whatever, like it kind of didn't sit well with like Justin Timberlake and Anna Kendrick, I think. I mean, I may be allegedly, I'll throw that out there. I don't want to put words in someone's mouth, but I remember hearing that like some of the actors and actresses were not particularly happy with that decision because now they're going to lose potential money from their contract because there's no box office performance, right?
They just didn't have any video on demand language in their contracts.
Yeah, I mean that might just,
I'm sure a lot of
be a thing anymore now because
yeah. I mean, I imagine now they are probably all putting that kind of stuff in their contracts, like just video on demand milestones, or just, hey, if you decide to go straight to streaming with this, like I just get 10%. I don't know.
Right.
Not doing so much the milestones and stuff, but yeah, I mean, that's a changing thing. It's something I was thinking about though. That's also another, it's a minor thing for these, more traditional studios, but in the past 2 years, and then I feel like COVID really accelerated this, but Amazon and Netflix, right? Not studios, but now they're practically studios. These days they've had this format and they're never going to change it. And Netflix will always release all their episodes all at the same time. They're always going to release their movies straight to Netflix, right?
Mhm.
Maybe not always. They might change that. But the idea is that these avenues, these studios are doing something that the other ones aren't going to commit to, right? So is that going to force them to even consider committing to these different styles where they still do release movies direct to streaming? Because Netflix is doing it. Netflix is making better and better movies, especially as Netflix particularly. I don't know if Amazon, but they're edging their way into the Emmys and the Grammys, or not the Grammys, the Oscars, right? They're getting there.
Oscar.
They're getting there as far as getting awards and recognition for what they're doing, which is this traditional studios territory. So if they're winning awards, right, and getting notoriety with their model of just pay us $7 a month or $8, whatever the lowest tier is, and you get it all. I mean, the consideration is there why Disney or Warner Bros would still be like, maybe we should.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I guess if it doesn't affect the quality of the content, right? Because that was the gripe at first. Like most Netflix originals were not good, Right. But they, like, over the last 2, maybe 3 years have made such a jump. You have shows like Ozark with Jason Bateman. That's like a phenomenal show.
Actors sign up for movie like Adam Sandler, right? All the comedians, like Netflix scooped up all the comedians for fixed amounts of shows, specials, movies, whatever.
Well, I just added an article to the potential pool of articles for our next newscast. Netflix bought not the next two Knives Out sequels. So like those are going to be Netflix movies now. So that means no theatrical release, right? So we're going to have Knives Out 2, Knives Out 3, both Rian Johnson movies, everyone's favorite director out there. Like they paid, oh man, I might get this wrong, but I'm going to throw a number out there anyways. So tune in to the newscast to make sure if I'm right or wrong. But I think they paid like $450 million for these 2 movies.
It's pretty good numbers right out the gate for not even having movies yet. That's
insane. I mean, have you seen the first Knives Out? I believe I've asked you.
I need to.
Okay. So 2 sequels for Rian Johnson's Knives Out headed to Netflix in $450 million deal.
Wait, stop. This has Daniel Craig in it.
Yes.
In the house. Yep. Old man died.
Chris Evans is in it.
Yeah, I saw it. It's great.
Yeah. It's a really good movie.
Oh yeah.
I enjoyed it a lot. I didn't think there were going to be sequels, but apparently there's going to be 2 more, which I don't really understand, but I'm in for it.
And that's a whole conversation in itself, is that they paid $400 million to get the rights to
$450 million.
$450 million for
almost $500 million
for these 2 movies. For these 2 movies, they're never going to release the theaters. They're not going to really monetize them at large as you normally would a movie, other than charging subscription fees, right? Mm-hmm. Netflix dishes out so much money just to have content, not necessarily to even sell the content, just to have it on their streaming platform. So financially, it has to be making some sort of sense, right? Yeah. Which leads me to the other point that Paramount, right, Universal, Warner Bros., they have their own streaming services, right? CBS, NBC, everyone has their own streaming service. Yeah, that was super easy and convenient for them to release all during COVID. But what are they going to do after COVID? Just have no new content direct to their streaming platforms? They're going
Right.
to have to do something, because why would you sign up? You know, people want to binge The Office and all the classic sitcoms.
But we've
That's
already
for
seen it.
right. What's the new stuff they're going to push to these streaming services without sacrificing their old methods of doing things? So
Right. And that's the thing is like Netflix wasn't a channel on cable, right?
right.
NBC, ABC, they're like, if you have cable, why on earth would you pay for an ABC streaming service if you're already paying your cable bill? What's the point? Why would you ever do that? Disney Plus, I think, is a little different.
Yeah.
Because it has all of their movies and they make stuff like you're saying specifically for Disney Plus. You're not going to turn on Disney Junior or whatever and see WandaVision, or like the Disney Channel and see WandaVision.
Disney carved out its own special place in the entire ethos, as always.
That's also because they own so much. That they have so much like IP to pull from to make exclusive on their server, their streaming service.
I mean, having all of Star Wars stuff readily clickable to rewatch all the time is plenty reason to have a subscription. On top of, if you have a child, everything is just right there. Right. It is sad we're no longer collecting the walls of Disney movies, but these are VHS tapes gone.
Someone like me, I don't have cable. I use a Roku, so all I have on the Roku are different streaming apps. Disney Plus is one. Netflix is one. We are Amazon Prime members, so we have Prime Video, Hulu, and then, of course, apps like ESPN, HBO. There's probably a few other ones. I borrow other people's login information with their consent. Okay.
They're sitting there with you, right? You guys are watching.
Stuff or they come over to the house and then they're like, "Hey, you want to watch this movie on HBO Max? Hey, let me sign in." So it would make sense if you don't have cable to be like, okay, Peacock, let's see what's on Peacock. I can justify paying however much it is for Peacock.
But here, okay, so here's the weird thing.
At some point, there's going to be so many streaming services, and you're going to be signed up to so many streaming services. It's going to be the equivalent of paying for cable.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I consider myself like an early cable cutter because I've never personally had a cable bill. I basically have always had that cable cut. I did the early version of streaming before it was just like sign up with your email. It's kind of more like, anyway.
Dude, were you a part of Netflix when like you would pick from a catalog and they would mail you DVDs? Because I was.
Yeah. I didn't pay for the service, but like I knew people who had the same setup, and like that was the process.
Yeah.
Or even like Redbox, like back when like that was a real fun thing to do.
Rip movie rentals.
Yeah.
Pouring out for all my family videos. Anyways, continue.
What was I saying? I forgot.
Something about being an early adopter of streaming. Never having cable.
Yeah. So being a cable cutter, right? So at what point am I undermining myself by signing up for so many services that I'm paying more or the equivalent of a cable bill? Though I no longer have boxes, I can watch everything on my phone. There are those advantages you keep, but a big part of it was like I'm not paying $100, $200 cable bill. Right. That's nice, but
I'm just paying $90 for all my streaming services.
Yeah. Though we pay for YouTube TV, right? Which gets you all your local channels and all your like cable experience. That's up to $70 these days. But we have a family account, right? And we're allowed to have up to 6 people or accounts on our Google platform. So I have like family
You're
members,
saying you have
friends.
a few open slots that you're charging like $15 a month for.
Correct, right. So you bring your cost average down by splitting it with people.
Yeah.
So, there's different ways of doing it
Nick's
that
got
way.
a side hustle of just shelling out the YouTube TV accounts.
Yeah, right. But yeah, so I mean, and then we have Netflix, Hulu, Disney. But it adds up. It does add up. But there's that line. Like, I'm never going to sign up for CBS, Paramount, Peacock, all that crap. Right. There's no way.
Yeah. So that leads us back to Paramount, which I think is like during this time, during the pandemic, during the lockdown lifestyle, I really think I wish that Paramount would have came out with this sooner. But then again, I don't know if they've had like what movies they've had released during this whole time. I don't know what movies many studios have been releasing, in part because not many movies have been releasing. Everything's being delayed basically. So
that was their first strategy. Just don't release anything.
We'll just keep pushing it back. I mean, the theaters are closed anyways. Why not? But I think this is like the perfect like happy medium, right? You still have that. What's the typical theatrical run? Like 45 days? Is that what the article said? Something around there. So you still have like a month and a half, maybe, to make your money in theaters for those who are impatient, who don't have the streaming service, maybe, or just like seeing things in theaters. But then 45 days after it releases in theaters, you can watch it on Paramount Plus if you want. And do we know if this is no extra charge, or if this is like another Disney Plus premium type feature?
It'll just be right to, if you pay for it, you'll have it.
Great. And that's perfect. So they have their 45 days of trying to make their money in theaters and people to experience it that way. And then after then, like anything they make in theaters is like bonus if it's still in theaters, and then it's on their streaming platform.
I'm just glad it's solving the whole, it runs in the theaters for like 45, 60 days. And then there's like some sort of weird giant leap until it comes out on DVD or Blu-ray.
Yeah.
That's where I would totally lose movies. I'm like, oh, that's coming out, on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
I forgot about that movie from a year or two ago.
Right. And honestly, so another thing that Becca and I like to do is we actually had in our area, there was a video rental store that kind of stayed around for quite some time, impressively, but I believe they're all closed now, sadly. Family Video, the one by our place at Oakwood Square.
Yeah.
Just closed down like 3 weeks ago. I actually
standing?
To my knowledge, because I know that there were 3 in our area that I knew of. There was the one that's right down the road from our house. There was the one in Jackson, on Portage and Maslin Road or whatever.
Yeah.
And then there was one on Cleveland and Orion, which is now Subway.
Yeah.
That was across from the Rite Aid. Those were the 3 that I knew of that were like right in our area.
When I first assimilated to this area in like 2015, I was shocked at how many video rentals there were. And it was fun because I would go to the one on Orion in Maine all the time after work on the way home.
Yeah, same. We used to live in, when we first got married, in apartment buildings over behind Swenson's and Taco Bell. So it was like right down the road. Like literally, I could probably walk there.
Your favorite thing, a video rental place, Taco Bell.
Exactly. Yeah.
And Swenson's?
Yeah, so we spent a lot of time there. I love like video rentals. I love the theater. Like I love all this stuff. It's so fun.
You're a hipster for it.
I am. But yeah, even up until the one right by our house closed like a month ago, we would go there occasionally, rent like 5 or 6 movies, then have like the week to watch them. Right.
Obviously not enough. They're close.
Right. The only thing that kind of put a hinder to our movie rental place actually was Movies 10, because it solved that problem you're talking about. It filled the gap between leaving Tinseltown and going to DVD. So we would watch pretty much every movie in Movies 10. And then we would walk around Family Video and be like, oh, wow, we've already seen like 90% of what's in here.
Yeah, at that point, the only time you're going to pay money for those again is if you bought them on Blu-ray.
Right, which I do. If I like a movie, I'll buy it just to collect. You can't really see very well, but up there on the bottom shelf in between my pops, that's my small DVD collection right there.
2 Zack Snyder comments for this episode.
Okay, let's go.
Did you see they released Funko Pops for Zack Snyder Justice League?
Like Zack Snyder himself, or
no, for like his movie, I'm pretty sure.
Like the Snyder cut pops?
Yeah.
I did not see that, but I would not be surprised.
Pretty sure
I probably would buy them all.
Yeah.
Because I do have a couple, the Batman and the Superman that you saw last week, hopefully, that were sitting right here.
Mm-hmm.
They were not Justice League, but Batman vs. Superman pops. Anyways, continue.
Second point, when I talked about going back and rewatching Batman vs. Superman, then whoever said you guys all basically recommend to go watch the director's cut. And like this whole thing in my mind, I was like, where do I know I could watch that? And I go over to my shelf of Blu-rays and I own the director's cut of Batman vs. Superman. So I completely forgot I did. And then nice. I saw that and I was like, man, I really like Zack Snyder more than I realized. I bought his movie.
Yeah. Man. He makes good movies.
What a guy.
But for some reason, people like to poop on him. I mean, are his movies the most like transcending movies, life-changing?
300 was life-changing.
Yes.
300 changed like the entire landscape of culture.
Yes. But 300 is not the only movie he's made.
No.
But are his movies highly entertaining and visually pleasing? You bet. And I love it. I'm here for it.
You're telling me he makes visually pleasing movies? Man, what a terrible skill to have.
Right. And not every movie is like preaching at me or like trying to like just totally annihilate the whole film industry and how amazing and epic it's doing certain things.
He's a way more nuanced Michael Bay.
Yes, that's a perfect description. So you mean a guy in Hollywood who makes movies is just trying to entertain us, and we're not okay with that?
Michael Bay excelled at like one class in film school, where Zack Snyder like was kind of good at all of them. Michael Bay was just like
jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah. Michael Bay was just like, dude, explosions and special effects class was insane.
Yeah. Yeah, he failed.
Not to undermine how film school works, because I don't know if there's an explosion in special effects class, but that's my take on it. No offense to.
Yes. Oh, man. That's amazing. But yeah. Side note about our Family Video closing. Of course, I was like a vulture, right? And went in twice during their like liquidation of the store.
Oh no.
And I was like, all right, let's see what's left over here. What can I buy? And I actually picked up seasons 1 and 2 of Preacher on AMC, which if you haven't seen that show, it's okay. I think I've told you about it, but you might not remember. It's basically
is the main
The Boys.
Character Billy Butcher?
No. The main character is who's
that was the same
Warcraft?
Actor, I would for sure go watch it right now.
No, who's the guy? Who's the king in the Warcraft movie?
Anduin?
No. He's the king in the Warcraft movie. the live action Warcraft movie. His name is Dom. I don't know why I'm sitting here trying to rack my brain and I have a computer in front of me. Preacher. But yeah, Preacher is another Garth Ennis comic adaptation. It aired on AMC. I don't know if it's apparently it's had 4 seasons. I didn't watch all of it. It was one of those shows. It's got an 8 out of 10 on IMDb and 87% on Rotten Tomatoes, by the way. So it was one of those shows where I loved the first season, and then a bunch of other really great stuff came out when season 2 came out, and it just got lost in the shuffle. But I've read half of the comic run, and it's just absolute insanity. It's written by Garth Ennis, who wrote The Boys, and the creative team, basically Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg, executive produced Preacher, and they also are working on The Boys. So it's like the same vein of absolute insanity. But Dominic Cooper is the main character, Jesse Custer, and he plays King. Come on now. King Rin.
Yeah.
Back in Warcraft. But yeah, I picked those up. I think it was like $3 for both seasons total.
It's whipping out the dollar bills.
That's right. Making it rain. But yeah, so where do you think the studios go from here? You talked about Disney Plus. This is probably a permanent thing for Disney Plus.
It's permanent for Disney.
Then you bring up the streaming only platforms that are now becoming studios like Netflix and Prime, where they're pumping out, even Hulu to an extent, even though they're like Disney owned, so they kind of don't count in my opinion. But they are a streaming platform that are creating their own original content. And nothing is changing for these places, right? Because they already created and went straight to their streaming service. That was their whole model. You see a place like Netflix in 2021. What was the commitment they made? A new Netflix original movie every week for the entire year.
Something ridiculous.
Like, that's insane. Like, how Netflix doesn't cost like $30 by now, I don't understand.
I would
just literally throw money at everything.
I would love to see their books, because I would like to know how the flow of money justifies itself, because they spend so much money on production and new content. You know, half a billion just for 2 movies. Like, I just don't. I mean, there must be that many people signed up for Netflix, right? Whatever it is, like maybe you average $10 times however many millions of people, and it must equate. But good Lord.
Yeah, I'm looking here. How many paid subscribers does Netflix have?
Seems like a very liquid environment.
203.67 million paid subscribers as of the fourth quarter of 2020.
So that's what, 2 billion?
203 million subscribers. Times, what is it now? Like 17, 15,
that's
16,
the thing. Like, I wonder what the
$17?
average is, but 203 million?
That's a lot. It's a lot of money.
I mean, that's $2 billion a month if you just say $10 the average what they're paying. And that's just, I mean, that's the only cost, right? You just pay. They don't make money. They don't advertise.
I mean, they do advertising for their Netflix original content, but they're not like putting commercials on cable and being like, hey, subscribe to Netflix.
Well, I mean, they don't have like ads in Netflix at all for like ad revenue. So,
Right.
So I mean, they're probably getting like 2-3 billion. And
So
just
shelling out 450 million for 2 movies is like chump change to them.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. And yeah.
It's like going through the Taco Bell drive-through, be like, yo, give me that crunch wrap. Ryan Johnson. I'll take a Knives Out 2 and 3 crunch wrap value meal, please. Thanks.
Are you compare Ryan Johnson to The Crunchwrap value meal that doesn't even exist anymore.
Rip. AM Crunchwrap's where it's at, baby.
We have an episode on Taco Bell and just like
Dude.
keep up with all their latest like features.
That's true. We could just do our own just Taco Bell podcast.
Aaron gets a chicken quesadilla and nachos and cheese every time. Meanwhile, I don't know what I'm getting until I get to the screen, and I'm like the newest thing, which is
right.
like,
and they rotate, like they cycle it in and
yeah.
out pretty fast. So you might get something 2 weeks ago and then show up and be like, where the heck? Where's my bacon club chalupa? Because that thing's awesome. I don't know if you ever had one of those.
It's all about that's good. That I did have that recently. That's
so
one
good.
of the newer ones.
Yeah, it's gone.
They have the toasted chalupa. That was okay.
Yeah, the grilled cheese chalupa. Yeah,
I'm just glad they have the fries there pretty regularly.
Yeah,
I'm a fan of
kids are also a fan of the nacho fries.
I'm a child when it comes to eating sometimes.
Well, I've made a pretty so we're going to Showboys Food Edition. Welcome to Food Boys.
Yes, Food Boys.
I've made a substantial life change recently. Well, basically since maybe December, tried to clean up my eating habits, kind of not really dieting, but mostly like, hey, maybe I should not eat like I'm a garbage can anymore, and maybe try to eat something clean and get rid of the grease, the sugar, the etc.
Oh, I thought you just made your aspect ratio more narrow, right?
Yeah, no, I did that too, but because of my eating habits, I'm afraid if I turn, to a side profile, I might disappear. No, I'm just kidding. I'm still chunky, so don't worry, you won't miss me. But on top of that, in starting March, so it's been an entire month, I've become the thing that I've become the very thing that I've hated, and I made the change to gluten-free.
Yes.
So
I've heard rumors of this through the Instagram grapevine.
Well, making the
your
switch
wife makes Instagram posts. My wife watches it. My wife tells me.
Yeah, I basically never have to tell Nick anything about my life because he hears about it through my wife's Instagram. So
Aaron always asks, like, did Mike tell you yet? And I'm like, no, we just wait for you to tell me Rebecca's story.
Yeah, and most of the time I'm learning about stuff from my life from you because of my wife's Instagram. Which, by the way, if you want to follow a really funny DIY home decor person, like go follow my wife on Instagram. She's hilarious. Modern Day Design 16. Shout out. Yeah. By the way, she has like 11,000 followers, so she doesn't need our pitiful shout out
for our 11 viewers.
Yeah. Yeah. But making the change from how I was eating, the first basically quarter of the year to gluten-free was not difficult at all. So I haven't really, it's not that big of a deal. However, talking about Taco Bell like this kind of makes me a little sad because, the only thing I can eat from Taco Bell is a hard taco.
Everything else is gluten in it. Are you allowed to cheat on gluten-free diets?
Well, I mean, so yeah, because I don't have like celiac disease, so I'm not going to die if I eat gluten.
I'm going to Taco Bell after the podcast.
Yeah. I actually had 4 hard tacos before the podcast from Taco Bell. So, but like the bacon chalupa club, man, my mouth is salivating right now because that was one of my favorite things, and I'll never be able to eat it again. The AM Crunchwrap, the bacon Crunchwrap, bro. I was watching, shout out BioCiv. I was watching his stream this morning, and he's like, if I beat this game, before I have to get off, I'm going to go Taco Bell for breakfast. Get one of those AM Crunchwraps. And I'm just sitting there weeping while I'm working, thinking about the bacon Crunchwrap.
Oh, man.
But yeah, anyways, that's been your Food Boys segment. Thanks for tuning in.
Yep. Taco Bell edition.
Back to it, though. So we're seeing Warner Brothers. They're changing. They're going to go back to full theatrical releases for 2022. I don't know about this Peacock thing, if that's here to stay.
It's a streaming service.
I kind of hope it is.
Yeah.
I mean, the 45 days after theatrical release. Like,
Oh,
I'm
on
cool with that.
Paramount?
Yeah, yeah. Like, I'm cool with that staying. I think that's logical.
Yeah, that fits. Universal's like the most useless one. It's 17 days after theaters, but it's only their mid and small tier movies.
So what's the point?
Yeah, like I don't even know what you make. Like I'm only gonna watch the good movies from Universal. I'm not watching your small and mid tier movies, Universal. You're not that
Right.
special.
Right.
You're not Netflix.
Right.
Right. So, Paramount, I think that's here to stay. That's a good one. They don't need to like ditch that. That's in line, I think, with a modern format.
Yeah.
I think the biggest one that is wild is HBO. I think that's the one that's just going to kind of like shift back to the regular thing just because they have their niche. They're just kind of doing a patch for 2021 and they'll get back
the
into
COVID
it.
patch.
Yeah, the COVID patch. You don't need a vaccine. You just put the patch on. It's like a nicotine patch, and it just prevents it.
Yeah, because I mean, I think enough people sub to HBO anyways for things like Game of Thrones or like their original content. So, though, I mean, this could literally be an entire episode on its own. All of the DC stuff that's, going through the rumor mill right now because of the Snyder Cut and like HBO Max talking about releasing, I forget what the exact numbers are, but like
Henry Cavill got two movies.
Let's do it. Sign me up.
He signed up. They're going.
But they've talked about releasing like a couple DC movies straight to HBO Max, skipping theaters altogether. So again, I guess that's not really the same because if they're straight to streaming movies, that's basically like a Game of Thrones, right? Game of Thrones isn't going to go to theater, but like, I don't know how to say like what I'm thinking right now, but yeah, I don't foresee WB. I mean, obviously because they said they're not sticking to this, but I wouldn't see a company really losing out on theatrical release monies more than they have to, I guess. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Yeah, and I still think it's just going to be moderately impacted even post-COVID. I don't know. I mean, I think eventually they'll get back into the swing of it, but it's just going to be a different crowd.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be weird. But yeah, I mean, a lot of this is here to stay. A lot of it's going to kind of like reshift itself. But I mean, just fixing the whole like theater to DVD step, that's just a huge fix in my mind.
I think they should all adopt the Paramount Plus model.
Yeah.
Like that should just go across the board to any studio that is a part of a streaming service.
60 days. 60 days.
Something that's not like 5 months,
Yeah. To where I'm going to literally forget about your movie.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I've still been trying to go to the theater as much as I possibly can, which sadly is not very much not related to COVID in any way, just because of small children and babysitters. But yeah, I'm looking forward to, I think the next movie I want to go see actually is Godzilla vs. Kong, which funnily enough, Warner Brothers picture. It's on HBO Max right now. But I think I'm going to hold out and try to catch that in theaters because that's one of those movies. One of those you're doing yourself a disservice not watching that on a giant screen with surround sound.
I've seen both Godzillas in theaters, I'm pretty sure. Because I enjoy those so much.
King of the Monsters was so good in theater. That was such a fun movie.
I'm pretty sure I saw both of them. But man, it's on HBO. Completely missed that tidbit. Maybe I'll go watch it.
Why did I even do this podcast with you?
Yup.
Oh man, but yeah, you got anything else you want to say? We did have a user from Discord chime in, so we'll definitely dig into that. But I wanted to make sure you didn't have anything else to say before we move on to some listener comments.
I think that's all.
All right. So we got one comment for you. Straight from Discord. Our good friend Rachel's Holiday, which, by the way, let's just take a moment to appreciate our friend Rachel from Discord. Super cool. Like, she's always chiming in to whatever conversations we're having in Discord. A very pleasant lady. And yeah, very fun to interact with. And for those of you who aren't in our Discord, you're missing out on the amazing input that Rachel's had in all of our lives because of Discord. So what you need to do is go look in the mirror and ask yourself this question. Why am I not in the Showboys Discord? And if your answer is anything but because I don't have a computer or a smartphone, what are you doing with your life?
And if you're sick and tired of social media, but you still need an outlet to specific communities that you want to be a part of, Discord is a great way to go about doing that. It's like an even lighter version of Reddit, and Reddit's like a lighter version kind of social media. So you're just kind of tailoring your social online experience, different tiers, different layers here. So
right, because you know what? We're not the only content creators out there that have Discords.
That's right.
We're actually not. There are many more out there like us, and probably every topic and genre you could probably think of. There's probably a Discord server out there for you. But anyways, our friend
Discord
Rachel,
plug.
Discord plug. That was a good one.
Yeah.
Especially the what are you doing with your life if you're not a part of our Discord.
Yeah.
Anyways, Rachel, she says, I was thinking about this off and on yesterday. I feel like I should read the question in Discord because so I say, let us know your thoughts on the way studios are handling theatrical releases during COVID era and what you think that might mean for future theatrical releases and streaming services. Our favorite comment will earn you a shiny Discord award for best comment. So if you're all about that award life. But anyway, she says, I was thinking about this on and off yesterday. I really appreciated theatrical releases on streaming services this past year, and I hope studios continue to do it until around 70% of adults are immunized. I always struggle saying that word for some reason, probably because I'm dumb. After that, I'm looking forward to just getting back to the theater. So again, I think that's like the majority of people's, thought process and belief these days. They miss it, but they're not ready, which I don't blame them. Can't blame them. The key is getting back, getting back to that level where people.
Or Tinseltown parking lot, which is pretty big, is just like overflowing.
Yeah, because that used to be a very realistic thing. I remember. I think it was
a long walk when you get there on a packed night,
dude. I went there for the Batman vs Superman premiere and had to park in the middle of Walmart parking lot, which if you have no idea what we're talking about, it's basically like a football field and a half away from the doors. Maybe even 2 football fields. I don't know, but it's really far. Yeah, I miss those days. But I think the goal is to get back there, obviously. And I think that's a lot of people's sentiment right now. Side note, for your Sports Boys segment, I did hear yesterday, maybe the day before, that the NFL is expecting full stadiums when the season starts in September. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say that if the NFL is making a claim like that, which they don't typically throw things around, without having good merit or reasoning behind what they say, because they're just a giant money printing machine. If they're making claims like that, I have to think we're rounding third here in this COVID era.
if American sports like franchises, whatever those things are considered, are saying that, it's practically going to be over by then.
COVID's done.
If they want to be that bullish on it,
Yeah.
this entire country, its baseline is like the NFL, NBA, NBL, or NLB, whichever it is.
I was gonna let it go.
Okay.
Nick's a big fan of the sports ball. If you didn't know,
Yeah, the sports ball things.
Yes, but yeah, thank you, Rachel, for chiming in. Appreciate it as always. Yeah, but I think that about does it for this episode. You got anything you want to plug, Nick?
We
already did a pretty hefty Discord plug.
Yeah, Discord plug. That's really the big important one.
Yeah,
just jump in the Discord and hang out.
We have a busy. Yeah, for real. We're always playing Valheim, and you're more than welcome to play with us or jump in and chat with us. Someone's always in Discord. It's a fun place to be. But we have a busy little weekend and starts the week for the podcast. We have our show Sunday night. Jordan will be joining me again for episode 3 of our Falcon and Winter Soldier companion series. That's been a really fun series to do so far. Jordan is basically the Nick of comics. Nick is basically Rain Man when it comes to Star Wars. So it's been great to jump on, covering an MCU show with someone who is very knowledgeable about the comics. And yeah, just like our Mandalorian series, we recap every episode, break it down, speculate the crap out of it, and just have a lot of fun and hijinks at each other's expenses. It's a great time. You should tune in. We live stream every Sunday at 9 p.m. Just like we do on Thursdays for our regular show. You can comment in and we'll read your comments on the show and talk about your thoughts and opinions and questions. Monday, we have our newscast. So be looking forward to that. And next Thursday, we actually have a fun episode for you guys. It'll be our next What's Playing episode. Chad will be back. And this is one of those 2-for episodes. Not only is it What's Playing, not only will Chad be back, but we will be interviewing another content creator, kind of following suit with our monthly interviews so far this year. We will be joined by our friend BioCiv, who is a video game streamer on Facebook. And just getting to know him, learn about his stream. And then we have a super fun topic that we're all going to dive into. And you will not want to miss it. It should be very fun and very entertaining. And we hope you can join us on the live stream. If you are watching this on YouTube, if you are watching this on the live stream right now, and if you like what you heard, please subscribe. We hope that we're able to earn your subscription today. If you're listening on an audio platform, please rate and review us where you can. Give us a like, give us a comment. Let us know what you liked, what you disliked. Really helps us out. Helps us improve as podcasters, and also helps us get wiggle our way into the algorithm and get out there and get known a little more. We appreciate you for listening. It means a lot for the support. And you can find all of our social media links and podcasting platforms at linktr.ee/showboyspodcast. I think that about does it for my endless rambling on of plugs. As always, thank you for joining us. Good night, Hobbs. We will see you Sunday night, hopefully, for the Falcon and Winter Soldier companion series. Good day.